Beneath the glow of every golden age lies a quiet truth. Wealth has never been safe. Not during the age of empires. Not in the chaos of revolutions. Not even in the so-called stable years between wars. It was true in the palaces of Babylon. It was true in the villas of ancient Rome. The wealthy have always played a different game than everyone else, because they understood something most people did not. Money, whether gold coins, grain, or land titles, was never just wealth. It was leverage. It was insurance. It was a tool for survival. While ordinary people trusted the system, elites learned how to protect themselves from the system. So the real question is not how they became rich. The question worth asking today is this: how did they stay rich while everything around them collapsed? To understand that, we have to go back to the earliest times, when wealth did not mean a bank balance, but control over resources no one else could touch. In the city-states of Mesopotamia, around 4000 BC, the richest merchants and rulers did not store their silver in vaults. They tied it into temple loans, farmland leases, and trade monopolies that crossed rivers and deserts. Sumerian kings ruling cities like Ur and Lagash fused wealth with religion. Temples were not just places of worship. They were the central banks of the ancient world. To seize temple property was to challenge the gods themselves. That made elite wealth politically untouchable. Ancient Egypt followed a similar logic. During the Old and Middle Kingdoms, wealth was held not in money, but in durable, tangible assets. Fertile land along the Nile, grain storehouses, gold mines in Nubia. To confiscate these was to tear the state apart. Rulers placed property under temple ownership, creating an early form of trust funds that allowed wealth to pass safely between generations. Inflation or currency collapse meant little to them. Their wealth was in land, and land produced food. And in that world, food was the ultimate store of value. By the 5th century BC, ancient Greece introduced a new strategy: mobility through diversification. Merchants in Athens, Corinth, and the Aegean grew rich through sea trade. They knew a coup or a war could wipe out a city's treasury overnight. So they spread their assets across multiple city-states. They invested in ships. They built relationships with bankers from Egypt to the Black Sea. This was an early form of offshore thinking. If Athens fell, a smart merchant could sail to Rhodes and begin again. Rome took this logic even further. Senators, generals, and the equestrian class had witnessed political purges firsthand. They knew standing on the wrong side of power could erase a fortune in a single night. So Roman elites never kept wealth in one place. They bought land across provinces. They invested in tax collection rights. They lent money to foreign kings, with repayment enforced by Roman legions. What they were really diversifying was not just assets, but legal jurisdictions. As the Western Roman Empire weakened, a clear pattern emerged. Elites withdrew wealth from the public sphere and moved it into private, defensible domains. Instead of lending to the state, they invested in fortified estates, private militias, and direct trade networks. When Rome fell in 476, the treasury was empty. But the richest families still controlled land, food, and labor. The state was gone. The wealth remained. In the Middle Ages, the tools changed, but the logic stayed the same. In Europe, the wealthy used the church as both bank and legal shield. Kings could seize rival property, but land donated to the church was often untouchable. Banking families like the Medici moved wealth through records instead of gold. You could go bankrupt in one city and remain rich in another. In the Islamic world, systems like Hawala allowed money to move without physically moving. Confiscation became nearly impossible. Part of wealth was deliberately invisible. As states grew stronger in the early modern era, elites adapted again. In Venice, Amsterdam, and London, great merchants tied their fortunes to the state, but made themselves indispensable. They financed wars. They lent to governments. They secured privileges. The outcome was always the same. Crises impoverished the masses, while the best connected grew even more powerful. So what does history actually teach us? The core of wealth preservation comes down to two words: control and distance. Control means owning assets that produce value independent of politics. Distance means not leaving those assets at the mercy of a single system. The wealthy of the past understood this clearly. Money kept inside the system is money at risk. Today, the tools have changed. Digital accounts can be frozen with a keystroke. Currencies can be devalued overnight. Inflation quietly steals from your pocket. But the principle is the same. True financial freedom is not just owning money. It is ensuring that money survives the storm. If you take only one lesson from history, let it be this: the system works for those who know how to move around it. Everyone else realizes far too late that their money was never truly theirs at all.